Hi there, and welcome. Thank you for joining me today. I have a sunny side flip through of two books today that I worked on simultaneously. Of two old books that I was wonderfully gifted from a sweet lady at my favorite little church book sale. She occasionally runs the cash. And she said, you're the lady who makes the books. And I said, yes. And she said, I have some really old Beatrix Potter books at home. They're in bits and pieces, and I don't know what to do with them. They were my mother's, and I think maybe they were her mother's before that. I'm not sure. She said, they're just in bits and pieces, and I don't know what to do with them. I can't throw them out. But on the other hand, anyhow, I said I would love them. And sure enough, she brought them in the following week for me. And sure enough, they were in bits and pieces. But I was thrilled. The important part for those of us who make junk journals is the cover. If we can have a really pretty cover, we can go to town. And I sure felt like I did with these two. I'm so happy with how they turned out. But these two especially had the cover, and I think they had about 3 pages each left from the original text block. Like some of them just came like this. Like this is the text block for Jeremy Fisher. But there was no cover for him. But I can still use those beautiful illustrations in it. There once would have been a time that they wouldn't have looked not unlike this kind of book. The earlier books had a soft paper cover and color. Now this isn't really, really early. This one has no date inside it. But these ones, Nutkin did have a date inside it. And I have a feeling Peter Rabbit is the exact same year. And Peter Rabbit was certainly in worse condition. So I think he got read more often by the children that over the years must have read these little books until they literally fell apart. So I cleaned them up as best I could without ruining them and losing the picture and or ruining because the cover is just also just paper. Took them apart, created new spines for them. Well, we'll find out when we go through. But there are some things about them that are the same. So what I've done is I've made, let's go down a bit. I've made them in many ways the same and in many ways simply similar. But size-wise, they are 4 1/4, the typical size for Beatrix Potter, by 5 1/2. However, I enlarged the spine, so they're almost like a little mini tome. So the spine is 1 3/4 inch. And in both of them, I have put 7 signatures and a hidden hollow back spine. Let me undo Squirrel Nutkin so you can see what I mean. Even though this is a soft spine, you can see there, you can still do a hidden hollow back in a soft spine. You don't have to sew your signatures through the new spine you've created. You can still put a hidden hollow back in. And personally, I like the way it looks. I like the way it opens and lies flat. So I opted to do that, and I'm happy with how it worked. So Peter Rabbit is the same way. Now here's what's interesting. I cannot guarantee it. I only know from the research I've done and just from over the years of working with old books and fitting together the jigsaw puzzle mystery of old books. This Squirrel Nutkin had the original publication date in it. of 1903. Right here it says copyright 1903. And when I did a little bit of research, I learned that that's when the first of these little books started being published, was 1903. So since Peter Rabbit, this cover of Peter Rabbit was in similar yet a little bit worse condition, I have a sneaking suspicion it's also a 1903 edition. And if that's the case, I can't promise you, but there's a very, very good chance that perhaps these are first edition covers, which would be kind of cool. But you know what? No matter what, even if they weren't, they turned out to be very, very pretty little books. They're sort of like embellished naked journals, and you'll see what I mean when we get into them, and you'll see what I mean when I say they're the same, but on the other hand, they're similar. So as you can see, I created a new spine for them that's much bigger, and I collaged lace onto it because a beautiful old book like this deserves a luxurious spine. So this is full of vintage laces and antique laces, and even the ones that you see that have little bits of seed pearls, that's actually from somebody's wedding gown. Same with these, the darker daisies, that's also from a wedding gown from the 1970s. I tea-dyed those, so that's why they're a little darker. You might think that she wore a brown wedding gown. It was white when I got them. And I really love the way that turned out. Peter Rabbit's cover needed a lot of cleaning, so I did the best I could. There was some antique lunch spilled up here, and I did a little bit of doctoring because of the antique spilled lunch. We lost a little bit of the lettering, and I was able to fix that, and same with the Y down here. And then I did a spray sealant onto it. So don't worry if you're worried that you're going to get germs from an antique lunch spill, as I call it. It's been sealed. So, and hopefully that will help as well with lasting just that little bit longer. But they're pretty tough and sturdy. I would feel very comfortable using these for another 120 years. I don't think the new owner will have any problem. So they've got permanent ties in them. Both of them do. We'll go through this one in detail, and then we'll flip through Squirrel Nutkin more quickly. I had to borrow new end papers from my stash of Beatrix Potter books, and I had plenty. So that worked out well. The old ones were torn and had been drawn on, and they were showing 120 years of wear and tear. So the front and the back are new-ish and tea-dyed, and I think they turned out very cute. There's a Dutch door on the front. Oh, that was another thing. Because I didn't have a text block to work from in order to use, usually I would use the original pages, I would use all the original illustrations. I didn't have them to work with. But I had a book, the collection of works of Beatrix Potter, and I was able to snag some beautiful pictures out of there, and to keep it simple, I made tuck spots from pictures from the Peter Rabbit story and pictures from Squirrel Nutkin, and you'll see as we go through. So this is from the book that I have on the collected works of Beatrix Potter, and I love the way that turned out and the layering effect. Because this is one of the few pages, I think, as I said, I think there were 3 I was left with to work with. And fortunately, one of them was one of the title pages, The Tale of Peter Rabbit. So I lace-edged this side, and I think it looks pretty laying against these laces. These laces are vintage, and as ever with all of my books, I do my best to work with all secondhand repurposed materials. I don't use digitals or printables. So if you see things like scrapbook paper in here, it's because I found it at a thrift store, or it was gifted to me by wonderful friends out there in the world who send me gifts and things that they think I might like. So here you can see the original little owner was practicing math, and I think that's just charming. I love that. And I tried my best to use a lot of thick pages so that the new owner could collage on them or write very comfortably onto them. And there's lots of sewing wherever there's lace or tabs and bits and pieces. I tried my best to do a lot of sewing in here. And kind of tried to give a tip of the hat to the story itself. So here this is a stamp, but it's on the forest. So Peter had to go hopping over to find Mr. McGregor's garden. So I wondered if he went through the forest to get there. And bugs, well, that's a no-brainer in gardens and forests, and that there's going to be flies and beetles and bugs. So wherever there's a tuck spot, I didn't go to the work of creating all the tags for the new owner. You'll be able to do that yourself and have a lot of fun creating, if you wish, tags. So you'll see tons of journaling space, but here and there I have just tucked in a little piece of leftover offcuts so you can see where there are tuck spots. This is my tea-dyed gardening journal that I love using, and I thought it was appropriate for both books because, of course, they're woodland creatures, the squirrels and rabbits, and, of course, growing things in a garden is all natural and greenery and such. So, but especially a gardening book in Peter Rabbit is appropriate because of the location of Mr. McGregor's garden. A little tab here, and this is cotton paper. So as you can see, lots of journaling space, little tab and some sewing down the side here. And here is again some punched out edging with some stamping and a little silk flowers that I find at thrift stores. Here's where I used my Sizzix and stamped or used a die in order to create lovely little oval tuck spots using the book I have on the works of Beatrix Potter. And the pages, for the most part, are full size, but there are a few that I've tucked here and there, such as here and there, that are a different size, and I like that. And as I said, here you'll see I believe this is Tim Holtz paper. That I found this one at a thrift store. And so I figure if somebody else owned it before I did, it counts to go in a junk journal. That means it was someone else. Someone else thought it was junk, and I think it's treasure. So just a little tab of fabric up here, and again some sewing, tea dyeing, and then I stamped a little bit of grass down there. I love when you can get a page that has the number still on it. And then because it happened in a garden, I used some of my silk leaves on the edges that helps create this beautiful visual effect of the open side of the book. And again, a tuck spot, and in the little garden I think it's Peter's little shoe because of course he lost his jacket and his shoes. Here's another little tuck spot. So you'll see that it's mostly green in here as accent colors, simply because of the cover, that it was a garden. But you'll see blue here and there as a little tip of the hat to Peter's little jacket that was blue. So again, each book has 3 rusty paper clips that I've just put either lace or ribbons or fabric at the top, and you can move those around to wherever you want in the book. And I've put in an offcut of paper for you there. And again, here is cotton paper. Did a little bit of stamping up there myself. And again, a little bit of stamping here. Since it takes place in a garden, I put a shovel there. And then down here, thanks to I got a sample box from Your Creative Studio, and one of the months that they sent me was gardening, so that worked out well. So I had some gardening tools, and then I stamped the word gardening there to honor Mr. McGregor, who was just trying to save his vegetables. Boy, I know what that's like, what the rabbits can do in our yard here where I live. Again, here's Peter getting himself into mischief, and there's Mr. McGregor's boot there, and it's a tuck spot. This scrapbook paper I tea-dyed because the back of it was pure white, and I didn't want the pure white, so I tea-dyed it so that this side looked a little bit more, it fit in better with the flow of the book. And I sewed on a little bit of a rough ruffle on there. Some more of that nice cotton paper. And there's this bunny came from one of the few books that I purchased new. I love those antiquarian and the forest and fungi anthology sticker albums. So this is one of the stickers from the forest one. It's a really, really good book if you're looking for illustrations of things like mushrooms and forest creatures. I highly recommend it. And again, a little bit of trim with perfect coloring to go with it, and tea-dyed paper. And I was able to sneak in a little picture of the author herself, Beatrix Potter, and just put in a little piece of tea-dyed offcut for you there. There's little pieces of thread here and there. Sorry about that. Stamping again from that gardening. Oh no, that's a Tim Holtz stamp there. More from the book that I borrowed illustrations from. So there's Peter again escaping the garden. You can see Mr. McGregor in the background. A little bit of lace just sewn along the bottom, and it's a tuck spot. So you can do as you wish with that. Another little tiny page here, and there's a paper clip that you can use to save notes or move it somewhere else in the book as you please. This is another one of the little stickers from the anthology. The sticker anthology book. It's a little tab here with a bumblebee on it, and I've put a charm on it, and it's got a little heart. So I thought that was appropriate. And then again, little stickers that I find here and there, and it's just, it looks like parsley to me, so I put it in. More blue flowers here as a little tip of the hat to Peter's jacket, and some more old lace here. It's not antique, but it's definitely vintage. And then this is vintage composition paper from an old children's notebook. I'll even buy parts of notebooks that are left over out of thrift stores. Some more, again, looks like parsley to me. There's Peter's outfit hanging as to be a scarecrow. So I used a little bit of offcut of some sari silk that's in my bin where I save even pieces as small as that, and it's a tuck spot, and some more sewing along the edge. On this page in the tuck spot, Peter looking sad and the little mouse there, I added some lace along the bottom. There's a little fabric tab here again with an eyelet. And here's a vintage card from, I think it's a Crazy Eights game, and it had a bunnies on it. So how perfect. And clover, because what rabbit doesn't like eating clover? And then this little bulb pin has, I'm not sure whether it's a leaf or a feather, but I thought either way it fits in with the natural feeling of this little book. I just love how it turned out, how you can just take a cover, this one didn't even have a spine, and make a pretty little journal out of it. More of the little stickers that I have, more of the cotton paper, gardening again with a watering can. The watering can, of course, is right out of that story, how he jumped in the watering can, like on the first page of the book, on the Dutch door. Another tuck spot. There he is in the watering can. And here again, another vintage card. It's green, so I thought it fit in with the bird and the flowers. And there he is again without his little jacket on. And a little bit of lace. I used the leftover top lace of the lace that was going across the bottom here, so nothing got wasted. This was one of the leftover pages that was still in the book, and that must have been at one point one of the little owners, or maybe the person who gifted it to the little owner, because that writing's very nice and neat. It says Judith Sprague, and it says 1929 on it. But as I told you, the copyright date is 1903. Now down here I looked and I finally figured out it says Rolf, Vicky, Robbie, and then it looks like they started trying to write another name and I couldn't quite make out, or it looks like maybe they gave up and scribbled it out. So little piece of fabric that the colors matched perfectly with a gardeny kind of theme. And I sewed it on, and a little bit of a Chinooki knot there. Some more of the cotton paper here, and some more cardstock. And I do a running stitch rather than a pamphlet stitch. It's just what I prefer. Again, another sticker from out of the album, and I stamped some grass in behind. Here's where Peter comes home exhausted to his mom. And so a little blue ruffly tab that I learned how to make from one of Wishes and Weeds tutorials. And some sewing along there. And it's, again, a tuck spot, so you don't have to leave that there if you don't want. I just put it there for you. Some more bugs. Another rusty paper clip with some lace on it this time, and some more leaves to go with the little gardening theme. A flower pot with looks like some wildflowers and some lavender in there. And again, more cotton paper. Both of these books have, I believe I counted 144 pages in the 7 signatures. Some more stamping that I did. I did okay with my stamping this time. More bugs, more lace. On the back here was luckily a good picture that was saved with the cover. And that's when Peter got put to bed, and he had, his mother gave him a tablespoon of chamomile tea. So that's Peter Rabbit. And I put my little sunny side symbol on the back because although she is small and mighty, I had to work with size, and I thought that was an appropriate way to put my little logo onto it, and then I signed it over here for Peter Rabbit. Now the Tale of Squirrel Nutkin, here's where you're going to see the same but similar. So again, leftover pages that I had from my collection had to be used as new end papers. Dutch door again with Squirrel Nutkin, and this paper just worked out perfectly. And this was one of the few pages, thank goodness, because that's where I learned that it was 1903 edition. And there is the little troublemaker right there, Squirrel Nutkin. He was awfully naughty. And tuck spot with some stamping and a stamp with flowers in the right colors. Little tab here. And that cotton paper that I love, and the tea-dyed gardening journal book. And a little fabric tab here with some sewing. And this side also got some of the punched lace edge and a little bit of the silk leaves and flower. And another tuck spot with some picture of Squirrel Nutkin, and they're going to go over to Mr. Brown Owl's to steal some nuts. A stamping of some grass, some wild grass, and a little tag of fabric and sewn on. And there's the Mr. Brown Owl. I was rather drawn to him because my maiden name is Brown, so maybe we're related, he and I. There's all the squirrels, hoping that he won't mind if they have some nuts. Another stamp that has a squirrel on it, where those leaves are, and it's a tuck spot. Some more just off-cut, showing you what you can do with the rusty big paper clips with some fabric at the top. Little stamping I did. And again, the gardening tools. Gardening, because in the forest area, who knows, maybe Mr. Brown Owl likes to keep his forest nice and neat and tidy in order to catch mice better. Mice like getting into gardens and eating what's there. And there he is. He's so cute. Page out of my unused page from my bullet journal. Again, another ruffle here sewn on, and some more stamping. Another sticker from out of the sticker book with some stamping behind it. And here's another picture of Beatrix. So I thought that was appropriate to put in, and she's a tuck spot. Some more of that trim. And again, another illustration from out of the other book. And similar but not the same. A little bit of lace underneath that one. And another tuck spot with this squirrel over here, and the tab with the bee on it. And this time I just have a little charm with some copper wiring holding a little piece of glass onto it. And lace also on that paper clip. Another stamp with blue and daisies. And the blue, of course, is this cover at one point was a vivid blue. You can tell on this side, especially when I had the papers off, that it was at one time it was this color blue. It was a really beautiful vivid blue when it was a newer book. It still had the original spine, so I put it here. I thought about using it for something, but it was really going to fall apart and it needed to just be glued somewhere. simply for the joy of still having it. So I put it there along that ribbon that's running through the holes of that paper. Another tuck spot with a little bit of sari silk for a tab with sewing around the edge. And then the Crazy Eights game, again, I was lucky enough it had squirrels in it, so it worked out perfectly for these two books. And there's Mr. Brown Owl there, and I was lucky enough going through my bin of I take necklaces apart, and I found a little owl. And how perfect is that to be able to put onto into Squirrel Nutkin? It just was meant to be. And again, just a gardening stamping. These books are definitely like fraternal twins. So they both have 2 vintage cards each, and this one is from a deck, and it had acorns on it. So I thought that was appropriate. And I just tucked that in there with a little bit of lace there. Some more ruffles of fabric. This is the fabric I used actually to sew in the text blocks. So in between the signatures, you'll see this fabric in there. And then this was used to make the, how did we miss that page? This is the page, it says from Visky Coddington, Christmas 1929. So, not sure who that was, but, and I might write that down before we finish so that I can see if I can find that person in my local census. I'll check the 1931 census. So that's faux cellophane tape that I created. Again, from the sticker book, a little gray squirrel that time. And again, another ruffle tab with some sewing. Another rusty paper clip with some lace up there. Some more silk leaves. A little stamping here. And again, I was lucky enough, there were, of the few pages, this one was a nice one as well. So I put it at the end. And here I've signed my name. I use my initials when I do my signature, so CABC and 2024. And then on the back is the little Sunnyside logo of the antique sun. And again, they're similar, but of course they can never be exactly the same. Of the spines, you'll see that they complement each other, and they are both the same size. I used the exact same measurements, but the thickness of the laces will make, you know, if they were side by side together, they would look, of course, very different. And then, of course, the little ties, because I have a feeling once they start getting filled up with wonderful little trinkets and treasures that they would get fatter, so they definitely needed ribbons. So there you go. There's the tale of Squirrel Nutkin, made from just a cover and maybe 3 pages that were left of the text block, the original text block from 1903, and then the tale of Peter Rabbit, just the cover and even fewer pages. So both of these books will be available in my Etsy shop later today. I'll write the time down in the comments underneath this signature. So if you're interested, you could go over and take a look and see if one of these journals would be for you. And I hope you'll take a moment down below and say hi, and I'll say hi back at you. So Thanks for joining me. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care, and we'll talk soon. Bye.